This weekend, the latest Steven Spielberg film, The Fabelmans, drops in theaters. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Let me know what did you think about The Fabelmans, and if you haven't seen it yet, what's your excitement level for it? Now, if you don't know what this movie is, it's a fictionalized story that's heavily inspired by Steven Spielberg's actual childhood. And so it's essentially his semi-autobiographical story of how he fell in love with cinema, started becoming a director even as just a child and a teenager, and the struggles that he faced in school and at home. So it's his most personal story, all while being kind of the celebration of film and filmmaking. But is it any good? Let's get started with the review. And I thought this movie was great. It finds a way to seamlessly intertwine the story about the breakdown of this family, as well as this boy's growing love for film and filmmaking. Very early on, it just establishes what created that passion within him, but also you see the different outlooks on life that each of his parents have that causes so much of the tension and conflict in both of the journeys of the story. And you see how film is this boy's way of coping with so much of the stress of life. It's his escape. It's his way of communicating what he's going through. And it just keeps going back through that in a way that works. It's a long movie. It's 2.5 hours long, but it never drags. It moves at this nice pace where you cover about 10 years of this boy's life. And so it just keeps giving these little glimpses, showing you snapshots of the family where they're at. And then it keeps moving forward at just the right pace where it doesn't feel like it's rushing, doesn't feel like there's too much in there, but it never lingers in any one space too long. Does a great job of just, as you're seeing these images, you can tell what the characters are thinking. You can see where things are headed in the right way. Not in the sense of it being fully predictable, but you can see like, wait a minute, that's gonna be a problem later on. Oh, okay. You're piecing it together in the way that it's relatable. It feels human, of the way that husbands and wives can grow apart, the way that children struggle to connect with their parents in different times, and they can resent the things about their parent that is actually the thing that they most share with their parent. And it just touches on so many things like that. And while it is very much kind of an Oscar contender type film that it's probably going to get a lot of nominations, it's also just a very enjoyable film. It's funny. It has comedy sprinkled all throughout the film, and not in big setup, punchline, over the top, overcooked jokes. No, just little fun, funny things that happen in life that feels organic. It feels like the little things, interactions that you have with people that get a laugh out of you, and it just sprinkles all of that in at just the right amounts. And I think that's what makes this movie so special. It feels like the type of movie that they don't make as much anymore. That it's good-natured. It has a very broad range of emotions that you experience because it is fun. It has kind of an inspiring side to it. There's all the family drama, so it can be very heavy. There's all kinds of moments that could bring a tear to your eye. There's some romance thrown in the mix. There's so many different things that you feel and experience watching this film. And that is what I really enjoyed about it. It's not a bunch of big flashy things. It's not the most spectacular of stories, but also at the same time, we know that we're kind of watching a movie about Steven Spielberg's childhood. In the movie itself, you don't get to see the big reward and payoff of everything that this child is working towards. But in the back of your mind, as someone that knows that this is the semi-autobiographical film about Spielberg's life, you also know that is kind of where this is headed. That is what he's trying to communicate through this story, that these small little passions that children can have can lead to extraordinary places. And then as you go throughout the film, it's very much about the power of film. And it explores this in a number of different ways. The most obvious one is what I referenced before, about film being the way that this boy kind of copes with the struggles in his parents' marriage or issues that he faces at school. But it has a number of other sequences where it just finds these little moments where it explores the way that these little short films that this boy is making can change the emotions of other people. And the way that film, just these motion pictures as they literally are, can shift our emotions, can draw things out of us. And that's what the movie's about. And we experience that constantly as film fans. And it's looking like, why is that? Why is it that just the small choices that you make and what images are put on the screen can move us in such big ways? And it even finds a way to kind of have a climax in the movie about certain tensions kind of going on at the school that he's at. And there's certain things that kind of take place. And it does it in such an unexpected way that just makes you think about film and pay so much more attention to why certain images can shape a narrative. And what you don't show, what you do show, makes all the difference. And it's like an actual celebration of film. It makes you think about movies differently. Like all throughout the film, you see this boy making his short films, and it'll show you the behind the scenes view where it's very silly, the sorts of things that they're doing to try and capture these images. And then they show you the final product where it's all cut together, and all of a sudden it's telling this compelling narrative, even with just children acting out in these films. And when you add the music and you add just the right effects and you trim away all of the behind the scenes stuff, suddenly it pulls out these big emotions and just reminds you of the magic of movie making. But once again, not in a pretentious way. It's all in a very relatable family drama. And it's that the fact that it all kind of intersects so seamlessly is why it works. That you can follow along as this tale about the Fabelmans. You can watch it as this celebration of cinema. It's just kind of an enjoyable film because it has such a nice dose of comedy sprinkled all across it. And it's also a very emotional film. It does all of those things at the same time. And like, I want to talk about like what didn't work for me. I think there's one of the things that I liked about the film is that it tries to not villainize either one of the parents. It tries to explore from the perspective of you have two people that are doing the best they can, and they make mistakes. They have character flaws. They are moving in different directions, and that leads to tension between them. And it doesn't villainize either one of them, but at times it communicates some things that I don't think are actually good messages, especially with the mother and some of the final scenes that it has with her, where she kind of says what she's thinking, and it says it kind of like it's an inspiring moment of like, that was profound. And I was just thinking like, I don't think I can encourage that message of what that mother is saying right now, and with the emotion that you're trying to communicate right here. I don't think that's actually something to celebrate. I understand what you're doing here, the journey she's on and why certain choices are being made, but you can't convince me that this is actually a noble moment in any sort or any sense. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on the Fabelmans. Also, I am planning on ranking all 34 of Steven Spielberg's films in the coming days, so be on the lookout for that. When you put it all together, you get one of my favorite films of 2020, as well as one of the most personal films from Steven Spielberg that draws out lots of emotions, and it's just a celebration of cinema without getting pretentious. Overall, it's an A on the entertainment scale, a 9 out of 10, and you should definitely check this one out if you are a fan of films or Spielberg. Be on the lookout for my ranking of all the Spielberg Spielberg films coming up in the coming days. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.